Okay, so I'm going to do a review for a TV show that I've been really looking forward to for a while. Like, ever since it was announced it was coming to Cartoon Network, and I saw the little test footage pilot thingy, I was really excited to see this. So, yeah. So let's get into my review of the pilot for Steven Universe. Now, Steven Universe comes from the songwriter, and I think she's the background artist, Rebecca Sugar. She did work in Adventure Time, and I think she did some work in Regular Show. Not sure, but I know definitely her stuff comes from. She did basically all the big songs from Adventure Time. The last one, and probably her biggest, she did "I Remember You." She wrote "I Remember You," and she also wrote. What was that other song Marceline sings? Damn it. Shit, I can't remember it. See, it's killing me now. But anyway, anywho, let's not dawn on that any further. We're here to talk about Steven Universe. Now, Steven Universe tells the story of a boy who has this gem in his belly button, and this gem can give him great power, but it hasn't done that yet. He also lives with three female warriors called the the Three Gems: Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, who are apparently, according to a lot of trailers and stuff, they're the last of their kind. There were once, apparently, in some of the work, is that there were hundreds of crystal warriors, and of basically gem crystal warriors. Yeah, it's crystal warriors. But however, all that's left is that only three are left. Technically four if you count Steven. And Steven is the son of the original leader of the Gem Warriors, Rose Quartz, who apparently passed away so she could have Steven. She gave up her physical form just so she could give birth to Steven. And yeah, it's kind of a sad story when you hear that they're the last four of their kind, well, counting Steven, they're the last four that are left of this great race of protectors. Basically, their powers come from their gems. Garnet is the leader of the group, and she can basically create these huge fists. Amethyst can create a whip from her gem that comes out from the bottom of her neck, and Pearl creates this spear staff type weapon that comes from her forehead. And Steven can only his weapon, his gem that it was given to his mother, is in his belly button. And he can create a shield that can act as a projectile, but he only was able to use it once. But who knows, maybe he'll get to use it more often in the show. So, general thoughts on the show. I love it. The whole time I was watching this show, I was smiling. The best way I could the best example of what this show could be like, it's pretty much Adventure Time mixed with Tenchi Muyo. That's pretty much the vibe I was getting from this show. Tenchi Muyo meets Adventure Time. And not in the sense that Tenchi Muyo is, all the characters are trying to have sex with Steven. No. What I mean is by Tenchi Muyo is that there's these very powerful women who hang out with this one guy, but it looks like they're not attracted to Steven. That's the thing. They're not attracted to him. They're more like big sisters to him. They're more like his big sisters. And they watch over him like a little brother. Like these kids, normally in shows like these, you usually see that the big superheroes are kind of annoyed by the little guy who just wants to hang out with them. But no, you see from these three girls, they're pretty much like, "Aw, Steven, come here," and they're very they care about Steven, like I said, a little brother. And it's just cool to see Steven interact with these three girls that are pretty much, they know what they're doing, and they know Steven is very strange, and they're cool with it. When you see shows like these, you usually see that the older characters are just kind of like bugged by a character such as Steven. But no, not here. I really like that. But yeah, let's go into the other characters. Let me get back to Garnet. Garnet is awesome. She's got these she can make these huge clobbering fists, and she's like the tactician. She's like the leader of the group. We've got Amethyst, who is the party girl. She is the rebel child of the group, and yeah, she's probably the closest to Steven, more or less. She's more or less like the one Steven hangs out with the most, apparently. And then we have Pearl, who pretty much is Twilight Sparkle. Pearl is pretty much Twilight Sparkle from MLP, except she's a ballerina dancer, more or less. But all of these characters are really likable. I really have, like, throughout this entire pilot, I was watching it, and I was like, wow, there's not a single character I hate already. Well, no, there is this character called Lars, who reminds me so much of a douchebag from Gravity Falls. Most of you guys would know him. He wears a black hoodie and pretends he's goth, and I want to punch the fuck out of his face. So that's probably the character I'm going to get annoyed with the most. But, yeah, other than that, this is a really cool show. Also, this show is very violent. I'm going to say that right off the bat. This show, like, how they get away with some of the blood, like, they don't, like, when these eel centipede-type creatures invade their home, you see the Crystal Warriors basically brutally killing these things, but the thing I think that allows them to get away with it is that they turn to a puff of smoke. So they can do the most bloody and horrible ways to take out something, and it won't come back to bite them the sensors won't come back to bite them in the ass. Kind of like how in Randy Cunningham, Randy can do all these cool, almost gory things to the robots and robo-apes because they're robots. You can cut and stab robots however you please. Anywho, the first story is pretty much Steven trying to figure out how to make his gem to work, and he thinks eating these ice cream cakes called Cookie Cat, and he thinks eating them will give him his powers. And it's hilarious too because apparently the Cookie Cat ice cream is more or less out of date. It's more or less just no longer there. It's I wouldn't say it's gone out of business, the company. And what the crystal gems do, what they do basically is go around the world and take all that's left of the ice creams, and put them in the freezer for him. They run around and steal it, to which Pearl replies with, "I went back and paid for it all." It's really good. So, there's that. There's one more character I want to talk about before I get into the other stuff. Steven's dad, Greg. Greg is pretty much the dude from The Big Lebowski, except if the dude decided to own a car wash instead of do nothing with the rest of his life. That's pretty much the dude. That's pretty much his whole thing right there. But anyway, what was I gonna say? I think he's really cool. You know, normally again with characters like Greg, you usually see him like, oh, he's just a total fuck up, and you know nobody wants to be around him. The thing is that with Greg is that they don't want to be around him, but he's not a terrible person. He's not like a con artist or something like that. He's just kind of he's a failed rocker who now owns a car wash, and he's not the greatest dad, but he's trying, and I love his relationship with Steven. You can clearly see that he loves Steven, rather than he's like, I don't want to be around you, even though I live away from you, because apparently the Gem Warriors want to raise Steven and train him. And you get the sense that Greg knows he's not a great dad, but he wants to be in his son's life, and that's very touching. It's a very touching story right there. And Greg is such a cool character. He's apparently a failed rocker that Steven's mother once saw him play. He was a one-man rock show band, and I love his song "Let Me Drive My Van Into Your Heart." And apparently, how he puts it is that the only person, when he came to their town of Beach City, the only person who ever came to his show was his mother. It was Steven's mother, and they stuck together ever since until she passed away to give birth to Steven. And it's very touching, you know. His dad is also like, he's not the greatest. You can clearly see he's not great at the dad thing. You can clearly see why he, he lets the Gem Warriors raise Steven. Because he knows he's not a great dad. But like I said, he's not like, the kind of dad you see getting arrested by cops. He's more like the dad who knows what is best for his kid, even though he knows that he can't, because he knows he can't provide for him. So that's kind of what Steven's dad is. So he's probably going to be one of my favorite characters of the show already. He's also going to be probably the fun character. Kind of like, actually, the best way I could describe him, he's like a mixture of Grunkle Stan and the dude from The Big Lebowski. That's the best. If you did a fusion dance with Grunkle Stan and the dude, you'd get Greg Universe. So, yeah. So let's talk about the animation. I love the animation in here. It's fantastic. It doesn't try to be Adventure Time, but you get a sense because obviously she worked in Adventure Time, so yeah. But the production value is really good. Now, the original pilot, like the little mini thing they put online, it looks different. Like, the animation is clearly different on both sides, but I still like this animation, but I really wish they stuck with the animation we saw in that web pilot, if you guys have seen it. It's a little 5-minute thing. But, yeah. All in all, I was really excited for this show. It did not disappoint. I really want to see where this show goes. I love the music in here. Again, Rebecca Sugar did all the great songs of Adventure Time. And now I can only imagine that we're going to get some great songs in here. But anyway, guys, that's really all I had to say about the Steven Universe pilot. You guys tell me if you got to see it. What did you guys think of it? What are your favorite characters? Where do you think the show's going to go? Stuff like that. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'm out.